Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Earthly Headlines. I've had some technical difficulties today, so the upload today is pretty late. And I just want to get a quick headline in today. And this one comes out of China from Owen. This article is by Owen Jarris, Live Science contributor from livescience.com. And the title reads, Massive Pyramid, Lost City, and Ancient Human Sacrifices Unearthed in China. Now, China has a pretty long history, and the further you go back, the more mythical it gets. Like the Jade Emperor was supposedly the guy who founded China as we know it now, but really before that there was like an super ancient civilization called the Xia dynasty. And that was like over 5,000 years ago, I think, just off the top of my head. This site is supposedly a 4,300-year-old city, which is a massive step pyramid that is at least 230 feet high and spans 59 acres at its base, which was excavated in China. The pyramid, here's what it looks like. It was decorated with eye symbols, anthropomorphic art, more specifically a part human, part animal face. And it was believed that it may have endowed the step pyramid with special religious power. If you think of other step pyramids, like I think Chichen Itza is one. There's a few others that I can't remember in Central America and Mexico. And the Tower of the Pyramid of the Serpent or something, Temple of the Serpent. They all have sort of this they have these similar adornments, I would say. For 5 centuries, a city flourished around the pyramid. At one time, the city encompassed an area of 400 hectares or 988 acres, making it one of the largest in the world. And the ruins are referred to as Shimao, but they don't know the actual ancient name, as with a lot of other stuff. A little bit more description of the pyramid. It contains 11 steps, each of which was lined with stone. On the topmost step, there were extensive palaces built of rammed earth. I wonder what that is. Rammed, like packed brick, maybe? I don't know what that means. Wooden pillars and roofing tiles, a gigantic water reservoir, and domestic remains related to daily life. I wonder what that could be. Like laundry? I don't know. Domestic remains. The city's rulers lived in these palaces, and art and craft production were carried out nearby. Evidence so far suggests that the step pyramid complex functioned not only as a residential space for ruling Shimao elites, but also as a space for artisanal or industrial craft production. Okay, so this is probably a site embedded in a larger community, I would say. A series of stone walls with ramparts and gates was built around the pyramid in the city. Yeah, it's probably a fortified city at one point. Again, 4,300 years ago, so that's around 2,300 BC. During that time, let's see, what was going on around then? So 2570 BC, they started producing silk by the Langzhou culture. And then 2500, there's a big battle, the Battle of Ban Quan. Were repelled by a force of tribes allied under the Yellow Emperor. Yeah, this is the guy. I'm sorry, I might have said Jade Emperor. I meant Yellow Emperor. Yeah, he's like a mythical deity figure. But he's a little bit like 200 years before this. Another battle. Xi becomes king of China, which is translated as the Yellow Emperor or the Flame Emperor. I don't know. In 2361 BC, China made its first contact with Van Lang. This is ancient Vietnam. You can see it right here, which is interesting. So there was a lot going on back then, and it makes sense that it was a fortified city. 2200, only 100 years later, the Great Flood. You the Great completed a drainage system which ended the periodic and destructive flooding of the Yellow and Yangtze River. Yeah, that's true. There have been documented and like geological evidence for this flooding, this coming and going of the tides of the Yellow River. And then the Xia dynasty comes. So this predates the Xia dynasty I was talking about. So yeah, it makes sense that there were ramparts and gates and stuff. The pyramid thing is really interesting though, because you find they're ubiquitous in all kinds of ancient culture. It must have been some sort of maybe not one civilization together, but there must have been some sort of exchange of ideas for there to be such a peculiar type of architecture located all throughout the world back then. They found numerous human sacrifices. They found 6 pits containing decapitated human heads, and you can see a picture of them here. So they're doing ritual sacrifice. That reminds me of like the Aztecs and you know those natives back in Mexico. They also had pyramids, and they also did human sacrifice as well. Some victims may be from another archaeological site called Zhukaigo, which is located north of Shimao, and the people of Shimao may have conquered the neighboring site. Like I said, there was probably a lot of battles and a lot of violence going on back then, not unlike any ancient settlement. So, and morphological analysis of human remains suggests that victims may have been related to the residents of Zhukaigo, which further suggests that they were taken to Shimao as captives during the expansion of the Shimao polity. So if this is true, then yeah, those human sacrifices were probably people who were conquered. They found jade artifacts, not surprising. They were inserted into spaces between the blocks and all of Shimao's structures. The jade objects and human sacrifice may have imbued the very walls of Shimao with ritual and religious potency. Okay, so there's like a type of animism here going on, which is interesting because in Korea, which is not too far from China, they were an animist, shamanistic culture for a long time. So those ideas probably weren't new to the Chinese of that time as well. Archaeologists have known about Shimao for years. It was once originally thought to be part of the Great Wall of China because a section of it is located next to it, which I don't know how you can get it confused. Maybe they just for simplicity's sake, they just sort of conflated the two together. But in recent years, took a closer look, and they realized Shimao is far older than the Great Wall, which was built. The Great Wall was built between 2,700 and 400 years ago, which is not that long ago. And 4,300 years ago, that long predates it. So it does make sense that they would build the Great Wall near there, because there was already a fortified city there. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. So what do I think of this overall? It's a really quick article. I think there's a ton of stuff in China that has not even been reported, because it is a communist government, and the government does have a say in what gets released and what doesn't, what can be unearthed and what can't. After the communists took over, they destroyed a lot of artifacts. So it makes sense that they would kind of censor or be tough on what gets investigated and what doesn't. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff in China, like the Terracotta Army. That's insane. And this is just kind of, I would believe that it's just kind of scratching the surface of what's really going on there, what they really have. I would love to see more stuff come out of China. I'm sure China has just as much, if not more, stuff yet to be discovered as the Middle East. In Chinese history, once you go back far enough, is shrouded in mystery. Like I said earlier, their founding father was somebody who's like a mythical figure who we're not even sure really existed. So, and it probably goes back further than that. So I don't know. I wish I knew more about Chinese history, or like ancient Chinese history. I do know that the Chinese government, they're getting better and better in terms of allowing archaeologists and geologists and academics as well as independent scholars going in there and poking around and providing their expertise and analysis toward getting more of this stuff out there. But we'll see what more comes out, because lately I've been following this stuff for a while now. And when I say this stuff, I mean anything archaeological, anything anything to do with Egypt, anything to do with ancient history, basically, and quote prehistory. And more stuff has been coming out in recent years from China specifically. So who knows what they have that they have already but haven't released, and also what they have yet to discover. I'll keep you guys posted. How about that? Alright guys, thank you for tuning in once again. This is a shorter episode, but I'll be back tomorrow.